Black Lives Matter is back in the news. In Britain, the group is using the death of alleged drug dealer Yasser Yaqub to make Facebook appeals for money. Of course, it would be wrong to make judgments about Mr. Yaqub until we know the facts about his shooting by police. He may or may not have been a drug dealer. He may or may not have been connected to the shooting at the Chrismar nightclub on Christmas Day, and it may or may not have been his fear of Jehovah's Witnesses that led him to have 13 CCTV cameras plastered all over the outside of his house. We just don't know. But what we do know is if you want to make matters worse, then hop onto Facebook and slip BLM UK a few quid. Which leads us to the hashtag BLM kidnapping and Holocaust denial. One thing I have never understood about neo-Nazis is Holocaust denial. If you hate Jews or gays or gypsies or the mentally ill, then why haggle over numbers? Surely it makes sense to inflate the figures. No, we killed 50 billion, and here's the reason why it was a good thing and why we will do it again. Thus it is a source of some merriment that the hashtag neo-Nazis, hashtag only joking of hashtag BLM suddenly stopped tweeting kill all white people and we want a civil war type stuff in the face of the alleged racist kidnapping and torture of a white bloke in Chicago. I mean, it's not like it's the first time such an incident has occurred in the past year, and none of them have been declared hate crimes. And as such, it is no surprise that CNN's resident racist redneck, Simone Sanders, gets up and does her shtick. Her comedic turn this time is that it isn't about race or a hate crime, but it is some kind of political statement. Quote, "We've talked about white nationalists and white supremacists and the KKK, but there is also, when this inflammatory rhetoric is out there, when some people are repeatedly telling you that your community is the worst of the worst, it brings out the worst in people." Unquote. Now, fair play to Miss Saunders. She was doing her stand-up act before the announcement that the 4 people involved were being charged as racists. But it is perhaps not what CNN wants to hear. If the lawyers for the accused decide to run a Leopold and Loeb defence and claim that the media incited them to act on their latent racism, they're going to have a field day with Miss Saunders and the systemic culture at CNN. And this alleged kidnapping, imprisonment and torture of a reportedly mentally ill disabled man, with the delightful twist that the censor-in-chief of all hate, Facebook, streamed it live, has had the usual ice water challenge on the BLM Twitter sphere, in much the same way as the Dallas and Baton Rouge shootings did. Now this has nothing to do with BLM, and there is no proof that BLM have anything to do with this, and not a hide nor hair of the usual kill whitey and or shoot the cops. And equally amusing, I was listening to a discussion of the BLM kidnapping with Sargon of Akkad, who had some dude with him doing the usual, "Oh yes, but several weeks ago a similar thing happened to a black guy and no one made a fuss about it," which you could see as systematic racism in the media. The kidnapped black guy story was overshadowed by the fake Muslim attack on the subway. It was Christmas. It wasn't streamed live on Facebook or whatever, but whichever you choose, arguing that something should not be discussed because something else was not discussed is pure distraction. Oh, and Paul Joseph Watson took to InfoWars, demanding to know why the Chicago police were not treating it as a hate crime, and using the stupidest of all rhetorical devices, "Imagine if this were the other way round." Now, here is an admission. If I was dictator of the universe, the first thing I would do is to build a secret base with an unfeasibly complicated machine to kill my enemies, which always allowed them to escape. And the second thing I would do is to install a laser death ray in all laptop webcams to instantly kill anyone who typed "Imagine if," because it is idiotic. Imagine if, instead of lovely chocolate ice cream, you had a spoonful of poop. And imagine if instead of gawking at the bloody pulp head of the driver who has just crashed his car, imagine if that were you. It would be pretty bad, wouldn't it? And indeed, the latest reports would suggest that the four have been charged with a hate crime and other racially aggravated charges. So Mr. Watson no longer has to imagine, and his readers can stop commenting about the unfairness of the white genocide. The news that they have been charged will no doubt worry Miss Sanders, as if it is now possible to charge black people with hate crimes and racially aggravated offences, she might well find herself up on charges every time she opens her gob. But moving on. People have somewhat taken issue with Commander Kevin Duffin of the Chicago Police over his comment about stupid kids. If I might go off on a tangent for a moment, when considering the issue of stupid kids, it is worth remembering that it is not long ago that America was baying for the blood of Brock Turner for failing to fall into a drunken stupor quicker than the woman that he was behind the dumpster with. And slightly less tangential, if you follow Colin Flaherty on YouTube or have read his book Don't Make the Black Kids Angry, you will know that in America a white is about 30 times more likely to be assaulted by a black than a black by a white. Furthermore, what Kevin Duffin actually said was, they are adults, they're 18. Kids make stupid decisions. I shouldn't call them kids, they're legally adults, but they're young adults and they make stupid decisions. That certainly will be part of whether or not a hate crime is. Seek a hate crime and determine whether or not it was sincere or just ranting and raving. So, asked by the police, having been arrested, were you mouthing off and were you attacking this person because of the colour of their skin? Presumably these four cried, "Sean King!" made a Hitler salute and sang Young, Gifted and Black to the tune of the Marseillaise. Okay, maybe not, but think about it. How stupid do you have to be black and charged with a racist crime in America? Not that it matters, because in a couple of days #BLM will be back to tweeting "Kill them crackers." Simone Sanders will be on CNN calling anyone using #BLM kidnapping white supremacists. The chap on Akkad's live stream will be declaring the hate charge as a travesty when there is so much real racism in the world, and BLM UK will be on Facebook cadging money to stir up trouble in Bradford. Oh, and the number of people shot in Chicago in 2017 currently stands at 57.